Namaste. We're going to be looking at the chakra system. The chakra system is one of the most fascinating subjects of study for yogis and modern day yogis. Let's get started from the very beginning. When we talk about the chakras, it's important to understand the origins. So what are we saying? Today, and also in Tantra, but also today in quantum physics, we are saying that everything in the cosmos, out there, the galaxies, inside in the atom, everything is in a state of vibration. If everything is vibrating, it must have a frequency. And the question is that the chakras are basically vortexes of energy. Now we need to break it down and understand what do we mean by energy. So if I may, let's begin with an understanding of what happened in the creation of time. Now the closest explanation we have is the Big Bang theory. But the only thing with the Big Bang is that we are saying at that moment of creation, everything, even if it was a pinpoint at that point, everything came out of nothing. It's something that we need to wrap our minds around. Can everything come out of nothing? In the Tantra system, they have a very beautiful explanation, which is very similar. It's the closest ancient world idea to the Big Bang theory. The only corollary or the only addition to that idea is that in the beginning, there was consciousness. At the point of manifestation, when that Big Bang creation happened, consciousness got manifest into energy. That energy, the first thing was a spandan, a vibration, nada, a sound. And that energy eventually became the galaxies, the solar systems, the planets, the trees, the animals, and eventually us. So all that you see in creation is a manifestation of energy, starting from that singular point to become the entire cosmos. Which means there are two things. There's energy, which is matter. So E is equal to mc square correlates energy with matter. So there is energy represented as matter, and there is consciousness. There's objectivity and there's subjectivity. Everything that can be perceived and the quality in me that is perceiving it. Consciousness, matter. Are we clear? So we are looking at two fundamentals, two evolutes. Consciousness, subjectivity, the perceiver, and all that can be perceived, energy, matter, objectivity. Now in Tantra, this is defined as Shiva, and everything that can be perceived is defined as Shakti, energy, consciousness. In yoga, we take the same idea from Samkhya philosophy. So Shiva, the correlation to Shiva or consciousness is Purusha, and Shakti or matter or energy is Prakriti. So this interrelationship between consciousness and energy, Shiva, Shakti, or when I say Shiva, I don't mean the personality Shiva. It's just a name in Tantra for consciousness. Purusha, Prakriti. Now, because consciousness and matter at the moment of creation became two, the entire journey of life is to get energy back to merge with consciousness. This is the point I've been working towards. So essentially, you're saying that it is the role of life, it is the goal of life for energy to go back to source, to consciousness. This merging of what we call Kundalini energy up through the chakras to come in and reside at consciousness in Sahasrara chakra is the goal of yoga, is the goal of spiritual practice. It was important for us to understand this creation, this corollary, before we begin to say there's something called Kundalini, there's something called energy, there is Muladhara chakra, Anahata chakra, Agnya chakra. Before we even get into all of that, we needed to understand that this consciousness and energy that happened at the moment of creation. The entire journey of life is to bring this back, this marriage of energy with consciousness, Shakti with Shiva. This union is known, this yuj or this union is known as yoga. I hope that has put the thing in perspective. I would ask you not to just blindly believe or accept. These are ideas that I've researched over the years and have formed within my mind like that, and therefore I'm sharing it in these words. I would request you to spend the time, to take time to try and understand what is the correlation between energy. Are we clear with the relationship between energy and matter? We are saying that everything in the cosmos is in a state of vibration. Everything is energy. I am a form of energy, so are you, so is this tree, so is everything on this ocean. Now, because the energy is in a certain way, it appears solid. It appears as matter. But at its core essence, everything is moving within the molecules, the atoms, they're all moving. So this energy, in Tantra we have a beautiful idea of this being frozen sound, or frozen energy. And it gives a perception of solidity. For me, I am a certain form of energy, so I have mobility and so on and so forth. So we are clear with energy and matter, that correlation. So the only other thing apart from energy is consciousness, the perceiver and the perceived. The merging of these two is the art of union, is the art of yoga. In a very, very rudimentary sense, we say that a union of body, mind and emotions is yoga. Actually, it's a lot more detailed than that. It's a union of energy with consciousness. Now, there are multiple ways in which this is described. In the great religions of the world, you're saying that consciousness, you call it as God. The human, the individual trying to reach to the cosmic, however you speak about it, entering the state of heaven, however you speak about it, essentially you're saying that your journey is to go back to source. Energy at the point of creation, which got manifested from consciousness, is attempting to go back to source. I would like you to sort of park that idea in terms of understanding of what is Purusha Prakriti or Shakti Shiva, energy and consciousness. Now let's start to get a little bit more into the details. How does it work in practical life? What are the benefits of this journey back to source? The human body is said to be composed of 5 different koshas. Now these koshas or sheaths are first Annamaya kosha, the physical body. Anna means food, the body that's composed from food. The second is the Pranamaya kosha, the body that's composed from energy. The third is Manomaya, the mental, the thought body. The fourth is Vijnana, Vijnan, special knowledge or intuition. And the fifth is Anandamaya or bliss. The human being is supposed to be composed of all of this. Like an onion, you peel the layers, you go from the gross Annamaya kosha to the subtler energy prana, subtler thought Manomaya, subtler intuition Vijnana, and finally bliss. Now when we talk about yoga, when we talk about chakras, we are talking about the pranamaya kosha. This doesn't exist in the physical body. You cut the body, you're not going to find anahata chakra, manipura, none of this. This exists in the energetic body. I just like to sort of mention a few things. All of us, we normally say this, right? I like his or I like her vibe. I like the vibe of this place. What do you mean? You like the vibration from that person. It is not just the way they look, it is not just anything, it's just something about their vibration, their vibe that you like. Now, even without having a logical understanding of what we are saying, energetically, we may be friends or we may not get along. This is what I want to say is the subtler form of the body. Not just Annamaya kosha, but pranamaya kosha. Now in yoga, through the art of pranayama, you're manipulating, rather managing the pranamaya kosha. This has a huge impact on the subtler manomaya kosha, your thoughts. Now why is this so important? Throughout life, you do exactly as your mind tells you to. You marry the person your mind is attuned to, you do the job, you live in the place, you're following what the mind is saying. To manage the mind, you have to manage the prana, the annamaya, pranamaya, and then the manomaya kosha. So to be able to manage this effectively, it's very important to understand these layers of a human being. In the pranamaya kosha, we have prana that's circulating. Prana, the closest English word that I find is livingness. Now, there's a certain quality of livingness in me, in my body, and when it's time to die, the body stays the way it is and then starts to decompose. But a certain quality of energy has gone away from the body. The prana has left. There's a certain quality of prana in terms of the food you eat and so on and so forth. Now this prana is very, very important because that prana is what we are talking about. Prana flows through the body through nadis. Nadis or flow. Nadi comes from the word nadi, meaning to flow. In the Chinese tradition, we call it as chi, and in the Indian tradition, we call it as prana. Now, this is not the nervous system. The nervous system moves through the nerves of the body. But when it comes to the pranamaya kosha, it is more subtle and it moves through the nadis. There are 72,000 nadis according to yogic scripture within the body. Now these 72,000 nadis carry the prana. So when you do any asana, it is so that prana flows in a particular manner. And when prana flows in a particular manner, it affects your thinking. So that's why after a yoga class, you're very calm, composed. After a few hours, you may get agitated again. But because of the flow of prana, you're composed. Now, that was just a basic explanation of pranamaya kosha, nadis. Now, where these nadis meet are high voltage points in the sense they are chakras. Chakra means a wheel, a vortex of energy. There are thousands of chakras in the body, of which in the Tantra system, 7 are significant. Yeah? We study an 8th one also, but 7 are significant. So thousands of chakras. What is a chakra? A wheel, a vortex of energy, where energy is moving. It is said to be also composed like a triangle. Now these 7 chakras is what we are going to be studying together. I would like to sort of make the point of the nadis of the 72,000. There are 10 that are significant, but 3 are really significant. One is Ida, one is Pingala, and one is Shushumna. Shushumna is the central nadi that is said to move within of the spine. Now within of the spinal cord, now it's not in the spinal cord, you can cut it, you won't find it. This is in the prana body. But it is in that region of the body, and that is why in yoga, there's so much focus on sitting straight in meditation. So Shushumna nadi can activate. So Kundalini energy can flow through Shushumna nadi. Now this Shushumna nadi, within the spinal cord you have Vajrani, Chitrani. These are different small subtle nadis within of Shushumna, but we are going to stick to Shushumna. Now, Vajrani, Chitrani, Brahma nadis are smaller, subtle. For our study, Shushumna nadi is where we stay. Now, in Shushumna, the 2 other nadis are Ida and Pingala. So, in these 6 chakras, from the base, from the pelvic floor all the way to the eyebrow center. The 7th one is beyond. It's not even a chakra. We call it a sahasra. So from Mooladhara, starting on the left side of the body, going to Swadhisthana, then coming to the right Manipura, again left Anahata, right Vishuddhi, and left coming here to Agnya is Ida Nadi, Ida, I-D-A. And on the right you have moving to Swadhisthana, left into Manipura, right to Anahata, Vishuddhi, and right to Agnya Chakra is Pingala Nadi, Pingala. Now this is the Sun Nadi, Surya Nadi, and this is the Moon or the Chandra Nadi. Now this balance of Ida and Pingala and Ida is the subject of Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga, Hakaram Takaram, Her, Sun, Tha, Moon, Hatha, Hatha Yoga. Now, what we are looking to do is understand where do you find this imagery of the two nadis. You find it in the symbol of medicine. In the staff of caduceus, any doctor's symbol, you find two snakes intertwining, because that is the same idea and understanding from ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient India, that for general health and well-being, you need a balance of Pingala, physical energy, Ida, mental energy, and that balance, those two snakes, balancing gives you health and well-being. Now, I would like you to just put your hand here and check which nostril is predominant right now. This phenomenon is called as alternate rhinitis. At any given point of time, one nostril is predominant. In a healthy person, this shifts every 90 minutes, 60 to 90 minutes. Now, for me right now, the right nostril is predominant, which means Pingala Nadi, physical energy, Prana Shakti is active. When Ida Nadi is active, when the left nostril is stimulated, breathing is mainly through the left, Ida Nadi, which means Mana Shakti, mental energy is active. I need to balance my physical and mental energy to come into a state of well-being. This happens every 90 minutes when it's shifting dominance. If you're keenly aware, you will know at that point meditation happens spontaneously. Now, please keep checking this. The science of checking this and doing your physical work when the right nostril is functioning, mental work when the left nostril is functioning, is known as Swara Yoga. Swara Yoga. Yeah? Now, that's a little bit of a brief about the two nadis that are important. The issue is that at any given point, either Pingala is working or Ida is working. So Shushumna can never function. It's only when they are balanced, equally balanced, when the dominance is shifting, that Shushumna is active for a few minutes when this happens. That is why in Hatha Yoga, you're cleansing the body, you're doing the asanas, and you're doing Nadi Shodhana Pranayama. That will balance the two nadis so Shushumna can get active. I hope this has given you a brief about what we are trying to reach at. How do you get Shushumna active when you balance Pingala and Ida? Let's just take a breather. We've studied many things. We'll do a quick recap before we go further to the chakras. We saw in the beginning of creation, you had consciousness. It got manifest at the point of creation as energy. So Shiva, Shakti, or Purusha, Prakriti. That energy is matter. So the eventual aim of yoga is a union, a union between energy and consciousness. Then we saw the 5 koshas, Annamaya physical, Pranamaya energetic, Manomaya thought, Vijnanamaya intuitive, special knowledge, Anandamaya bliss. Then we saw the nadis that conduct the prana, the quality of livingness, energy through the body. 72,000 of them, 3 significant ones. Shushumna, the central channel. The whole art of yoga is to take energy through Shushumna, Kundalini energy. Pingala and Ida, the two intertwining nadis, one ending in the right nostril, left nostril. When I say nostril, I mean Agnya chakra. It's not of the physical body. We saw that balancing these two is important for meditativeness to happen. Let's move on. The chakras are named like this. Yeah. Now, what is Kundalini? Kunda means a pit. Kundalini means that which resides in a pit. This is the primordial energy of a human being. So from this pit, Kundalini rises up. Now the question that you and me need to ask ourselves, why should it rise up? This is what I'm going to be talking about. In yoga, in this 21st century yoga project, it is very important for us to understand what the ancient science is saying, but to really understand how does it transform my body, mind and prana or energy. If it doesn't transform me, then this is just information. It is not knowledge or wisdom. If it can transform me today, then this is valid. Is that right? The question is not whether Kundalini exists or no. The question is that, can it transform my daily life? If Kundalini is said to be residing here, and we are saying the journey of life is to bring Kundalini or energy to merge with consciousness, does it change the quality of my daily life? If meditation is not changing the quality of my daily life, it is pointless. It doesn't matter if I can see some blue light, if I can see some stars, it doesn't matter if it doesn't change the quality of my life. Is that right? Are we in sync? This is very important, because if it's not changing the quality of your life, you can be seeing any colors but still acting like an idiot in life, still behaving poorly. If there is a transformation within, it has to reflect without. Is that right? That's Hatha Yoga balance. Inner introspection, external interaction should merge. Clear? So let's get started with that. Kundalini. Kundalini is said to reside in Mooladhara chakra. Let's acquaint ourselves with the names. Now in this study, I'm not going to spend too much time on what the colors are. I'll tell them to you, or what the patterns are. My essential interest in the subject and the way I want to teach it is in what is the difference if I live predominantly out of Anahata or I live predominantly out of Mooladhara. If it doesn't impact my day-to-day life, it means nothing if you're living out a year or year. What does it mean by living out of? Yeah. Now when you draw or when you paint a saint across cultures in the West, in the East, you always show a halo. Why? To show that in that person, Sahasrar chakra is active. Sahasrar chakra is active, so that's why Jesus or the saints are shown with a halo. Buddha is shown with a halo, just to show that Sahasrar is active. Now, what I would like to share with you is that whenever a person has had a near-death experience, irrespective of culture, religion, upbringing, they always say the same thing. For some reason, they are in ICU, the heart has stopped, they've had a near-death experience, but they've come back to life. What is it that they say? They say that they could see a tunnel of light. It was so beautiful, and they were moving through that tunnel. Beautiful leaf. For some reason, they came back to life. Yeah. They were moving through a tunnel of light. Everybody says the same thing. This tunnel of light is what in yoga we call a Shushumna Nadi. So if I'm living out of Mooladhara chakra or Manipura chakra, when it's time for me to pass on, when it's time for me to die, the energy that is in me gets released and goes back up to the cosmos. This journey of energy traversing through a tunnel of light is through Shushumna Nadi. This is what we are trying to understand. Now the question that we have to ask ourselves, what are the qualities of a person who's living out of Mooladhara chakra? what are the qualities of Swadhisthana, and so on. Let's first acquaint ourselves with the names of the chakras. Mool Adhar, Mool root, Mooladhar chakra. This is found at the perineum. There's a vestigial set of nerves at the perineum between the genital and anal space. So that is why in yoga we sit like this. One heel is at the perineum and the other heel on top. Siddhasana for a woman, Siddha Yoni Asana is designed to put a beneficial stress on Mooladhar chakra, so there's an upward rising of energy. Mooladhar. The next chakra, Swadhisthana. Swa, self. Sthan, abode, place. One's own abode. Swadhisthana chakra is at the tip of the spine, at the base of the spine. Swadhisthana chakra. Manipura. Jewels, Pur, city, city of jewels. Manipura chakra behind the navel in the spine. So root chakra, sacral chakra, these are the English terms we use in day-to-day language now. Solar plexus chakra, Manipura. Now, Anahata chakra, Anhad. Anhad means unstruck. You can hear me because my vocal cords are striking each other. Any sound in creation happens because two things strike. Anhad means unstruck. In deep states of meditation, we hear a sound emanating from here, which has no source. It's the primordial sound. Nada yoga is that subject to listen to that nada, that sound. Listening to that sound which has no source, it's not a struck sound. It comes from this part of the body and therefore we call this chakra Anahata chakra, unstruck, the source of unstruck sound. That is at the center of the chest in the spine. When I say in the spine, not in the spinal column, but that is the region. So now you've got two things. You've got the chakra that's in the spine and you've got the chakra kshetram, the place of the chakra. It's very difficult to visualize the center of the chest in the spine. So we visualize on the chest. So this is the chakra kshetram. We visualize the navel area. It's in the frontal part of the body, chakra kshetram. The chakra itself is in the spine. Yeah. So I hope you're understanding what the chakra kshetram is. The human mind is designed to visualize frontal. Very tough to visualize in the spine, so we have the chakra kshetrams. Mooladhar, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddhi. Shuddhi, pure, purified. Vishuddhi, extremely pure. This is a purification center, Vishuddhi chakra. At the throat pit, close in the spine, behind the throat pit. Agnya, behind the eyebrow center. If you were to draw a line from the eyebrow center to the back, and similarly a line like this horizontally, at the center point where these two meet is known as Agnya chakra. Agnya means instructions. You get instructions from the guru and therefore you see it here, so therefore Agnya. You get the first initiation by a guru here. Once this activates, then you get instructions or you get the idea of how to work with the others. That's why it's called Agnya chakra. It's also called Guru chakra. And the last, Sahasrar. That's not a chakra, it's beyond the body. And therefore, Sahasrar means 1,000 petaled. Now this, when that is active, and this is the goal of yoga, right? When that is active, a person completely flowers. A complete flowering of a person, the greatest experience for a human being, Sahasrar coming alive. Before we start our journey, there's also one chakra here that sometimes we study at depth called Bindu Visarga. Bindu means a point. If you look at Brahmins in India, they shave their head and they keep the tuft of hair here as depictive of Bindu Visarga. The significance of Bindu Visarga is it secretes a certain thing called Amrit. Yeah, so typically that Amrit or nectar goes down into the digestive tract. Yogis train to bring the tongue up in Kechri Mudra to consume that. I will not distract right now, we can talk about that another time when we are studying in another video the Kechri Mudra. Muladhar, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Agnya, Sahasrar Chakra. Let's look at the colors. It's almost like the colors of the rainbow. Now please understand, these are vortexes of energy. Energy is dormant in Muladhar. You're trying to raise it to the higher chakra so that you come alive, you become more active energetically. What does it do physically? What does it do mentally? What does it do energetically? We are going to study now. So because they are different vibrations, they have different frequencies, the most dense frequency in the colors of the rainbow in Vibgyor, it starts with red and goes up to violet. The most dense frequency red, orange, yellow, green or light blue, blue, a deep dark blue, indigo color, and this is 1,000, generally we say white. White is the most subtle of the frequencies, it contains it all. Yeah, is that clear with the colors? Let's also understand the patterns. So the first chakra is depicted, they are depicted as lotuses. That's a good way to visualize and work on these chakras with the lotuses. The first lotus is depicted as a 4-petaled red lotus for Muladhar, 6-petaled orange lotus for Swadhisthana, 10-petaled yellow lotus for Manipura, 12-petaled green lotus Anahata, 16-petaled dark blue lotus Vishuddhi, 2-petaled indigo lotus Agnya, and 1,000-petal multicolored lotus for Sahasrar. These are the colors. More significant than the colors is the vibration of the sound. Now, because sound is given the most significance in the subject of Tantra and Yoga, Nada, sound, we are saying that the first thing at the point of creation, even in English we call it the Big Bang. Yes, sound is given that importance. The first thing that happened was a spandan or a nada, sound. What are these sounds? The first chakra, Lam, Lam, L-A-M, Lam, Vam, V-A-M, Vam, Vam, Ram, Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Aum. These are the vibrations that correlate to each of these chakras. Each chakra has a different frequency. So we've studied the colors, the pattern, the symbol, we've studied the sound. What is very important for us now is to study the psychological implications. So what does it do for me physically, mentally, prana or energetically? When a person is deeply grounded in Mooladhara chakra, when this is functioning fine in a person, you will find, so what is the, let's also study the elements before we get there. The first chakra, the element is earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind. When the earth element is functioning fine, when Mooladhara is functioning fine, what is earth in the body? The muscles, bones, the physicality is fine. Yeah. Swadhisthana chakra, water element. When Swadhisthana is functioning fine, what is the water element? Circulation and excretion. So when Swadhisthana is not functioning fine, a person will have a lot of difficulty with excretion. Water element. Fire element, Manipura. When Manipura is not functioning fine in a person, digestion will be an issue. Your ability to absorb nutrients from the food, it will be a problem. When Anahata is not functioning fine, air element, there will be problems with respiration. This is the physical. When Vishuddhi, ether element is not functioning fine, there will be problems with communication. Mind element will come to Agnya. These are the physical attributes of the chakras. When a person is deeply grounded and rooted in Mooladhara chakra, they're very grounded, they are very secure in life. Yeah? Secure as a person, emotionally, very secure. When this Mooladhara is not functioning fine, a person will be insecure. Now this could mean a lot of emotional insecurities. Now what I would like you to do as we go through this lecture, just bear in mind what are the things in my life that make me feel insecure. Is it finances? Is it health? Is it relationships? And let's commit to working towards security. Because if you feel insecure, you cannot move on to the next chakra and the next chakra. The point I would like to make today is that in the Tantra system, it's a very beautiful understanding of the evolution of a human being. You cannot bypass anything. You have to experience life the way it is. It begins with security. When a person is deeply grounded in Mooladhara, security is there in that person. Now, you could have a lot of insecurity and you work towards it. It is understood that unless a person is secure, they cannot move on to pleasure. The next chakra, water element, Swadhisthana, the principle is pleasure. Now, once a person is secure, only then can they experience pleasure. Now, what I'm trying to sort of get at is that the qualities of a person changes as they move on from chakra to chakra. Now, if you look at food, in the morning you're eating pasta, in the evening you're eating rotis, the next day you're eating pancakes, you're eating different food. It is not only for sustenance, it is not only for security, it is also for pleasure. Yeah? Yes, you're eating for sustenance, but you're also getting pleasure from the food. The same act of eating is now done differently by a person living predominantly out of Mooladhara. Through yoga, meditation, through the life that you live, you may move up to Swadhisthana. I would also like you to understand this before we get into great depth. The different chakras represent different levels of intensity with which a person lives. A person who's just focused on security, what do they need? Food, sleep. If you just have to get your food and sleep, you live with this much intensity, it's enough. Yeah? Now you become a pleasure seeker. Now you want to experience different tastes. You get your pleasure from food, from wine, whatever it is, drink, sex, to experience sex, you need to live a little more intensely. You need to find a partner, you need to live life a little more intensely. Power. A person who is living from Manipura chakra is a leader, has a certain quality of power in them. To lead, to be in power, you need to live more intensely. A person who is living out of Anahata chakra is very creative. To live creatively, you need to live even more intensely. Now you and me know that a Van Gogh lives more intensely than a Napoleon, right? Now that's why we value a Van Gogh higher than a Napoleon, simply because we understand it is more difficult to live creatively than in terms of power. When you go up here, Vishuddhi chakra, the person becomes very powerful naturally. You have to live more intensely. So intensity is a good way of understanding life through the different chakras. So Mooladhara, just interested in food and sleep, is fine. Level of intensity that much. Through your life processes, through the intensity with which you live life, through your yoga meditation practices, you have come up to Swadhisthana. Now you're a pleasure seeker, right? Now to be a pleasure seeker, you need to live more intensely. You seek out pleasure. If you don't go up to Swadhisthana, there's no growth in you. However, a person can very easily live their entire lifetime only seeking pleasure and never moving to power. It is said that in our generation, most people are living out of Swadhisthana. We live a life of pleasure. We're always seeking out pleasure. But some of us, what happens is that you go on from there to power. Now, are we clear on this? Living just with the choices you make in life, the intensity you live, every form of yoga is raising you up. In Hatha Yoga, it is done actively. You raise energy. You do 100 Surya Namaskars, you feel, oh, such a loving, compassionate person, so relaxed and accepting of people. But after some time, it goes back down into the basal tendencies. But when we do Kundalini Yoga, and the only difference is that you're doing it passively there. You're meditating on Swadhisthana chakra, cleansing it so the energy rises up. Meditating on Manipura so it goes up. When I say Kundalini Yoga, I don't mean the modern Kundalini Yoga. That's just a name given. Traditionally, Kundalini Yoga, Laya Yoga, Kriya Yoga are working specifically on raising the energy up the chakras, more through meditations and through practices. Every form of yoga is doing the same. In Hatha Yoga, you're doing it actively. It's a difference. Clear with that? Swadhisthana. Now, first of all, you got to activate it, but if it becomes too active, you can spend a lifetime just seeking only pleasure. When you go up higher, you go to power, Manipura chakra. Now, power is something very beautiful. If you look at a powerful animal, look at a powerful human being, it's very beautiful. We have a wrong notion of power where we consider it something negative because people have abused power so much. Now, if you don't come to Manipura chakra, if you don't live powerfully, what does it mean? It means that you can live your truth. You're living or saying the things and doing the things that you want to do. Not hurting somebody, of course, but just living how you want to. This is power, right? If you don't come to Manipura chakra, you're like a doormat. You're only doing what others want you to do. When you come to Manipura, you can do what you want to do. You start to live your life. Now, if it becomes too much, if your whole life you only become about Manipura chakra, then you become abusive of your power. Are we clear? This happens all the time. You look at sort of the great dictators of the world. They would have started with very good intentions. In college, they would have been in the college union. A lot of people were just in college to survive or just to seek out pleasure. They were powerful. They were doing things for the college students. This became more and more and more. They became politicians. And eventually, they toppled the government. That revolutionary now became a dictator, became even worse than the person he moved out. You have a certain power in you. For business, for politics, you need to have power. You need to be a leader. Now, this power can become abusive You have this all the time, right? You see it in families. Some older person has not relinquished the power. A grandparent is trying to dictate what a grandchild should do or who they should marry. You know, that's power. You find it in companies and corporations. A manager wants to micromanage. The way you relate to people is either through power or through love and acceptance. Only these two ways. Now, if you don't take care, your power becomes too much, and then you want everybody to think or do what you want them to do. Yeah, this happens all the time. If a person goes beyond power to anahata, this is love, acceptance, compassion. Very, very beautiful. Here is where, so the Buddhists, they say that Mooladhara is not where Kundalini starts. Life of Kundalini begins at Manipura. Because the bottom two are the laws of the jungle. They are the basal tendencies, right? Security, pleasure, power. When you come to anahata, that's where the human experience is beginning, right? I mean, not beginning, but it's a beautiful experience. These are not the laws of the jungle. Survival, security, pleasure, power, every animal displays. When you come here, there's love and compassion. You accept people the way they are. Now I would like to introduce the idea why all of this is important. We've been studying all of this. We are yet to make the distinction to say why all of this is important in our daily life. How does it change my body, mind and prana? Suppose you're in a relationship and you're a person living out of Mooladhara. You will be in the relationship for the security. Suppose you're in Swadhisthana, you're in the relationship for the pleasure. Suppose you're in Manipura, you're in the relationship for power. I like you, but I want to change you. Happens all the time. Only when you're in anahata, you're in the relationship for love and acceptance. You love people, you accept people the way they are. Can you imagine how beautiful your life will be if you can love and accept people the way they are? This happens so rarely. Unconditional love happens so rarely in life that you normally think of it as mother to child, parent to child, child to parent. It happens very rarely between two adults. That's why when it's time to die, we will remember the times that we experienced this unconditional love. Right? In fact, it's a really weird combination of words. Unconditional love. What is conditional love? It's not even love. Suppose you like 99 things in the person. You love 99 things, but there's one thing you want to change. Is that love or is that a very good arrangement? It's a question you can answer for yourself. Love happens when you accept, yeah, of course you would like a person to grow, you would like certain things, but you accept them the way they are, like a mother accepts a child. If this happens to you, the quality of your life, if you live out of anahata, will completely transform. Because now, unlike this person who interacts with people with power, you interact with people with love and acceptance. Natural leaders begin from Manipura, but unless the leader has moved to anahata, you're not going to follow them. Yeah? A person can tell you, do this, do this, do this, and lead you through crisis situations, but eventually a leader has to have concern, compassion for people, and only then do you respond to that kind of leadership. Does that make sense? Is it clear? So you find that you gravitate towards people who accept and are compassionate towards you. Anahata chakra. Clear now? Are you now beginning to understand there's a big difference if you're living out of Mooladhara in the quality of your life if you're living out of anahata? This is the point I've been trying to make. If there's no difference in quality of life, how does it matter if you're in Mooladhara or Swadhisthana or Manipura, anahata? Now you can see the difference. The way you perceive life, the way you interact with people, the way you live your life will be completely different if you're in Anahata as opposed to Manipura, Swadhisthana, Mooladhara. As a simple example, if you tell somebody, let's go to the art gallery, let's go watch a movie or a musical, they say, what a waste of time. A person who's in Mooladhara, who's based on security, has no need, no desire, no intention, because they're only focused on their survival. They're not interested in art. You can show them Mona Lisa, it means nothing to them. But a person who has moved from Mooladhara to Swadhisthana is interested in pleasure, from art and so on, power, anat. So you're beginning to understand that a person is getting more refined in their sensibilities. When you come to Vishuddhi Chakra, you have the ability to accept good and bad in equal measure, non-judgmental attitude, your ability to flow with life. Now, can you imagine how beautiful life would be? For us, we're always judging. This is a good thing, this happened to me, this is a bad thing. So good and bad is always an issue. Now, therefore, I can have only half my life can be good. Yeah, I can enjoy because the rest of the time, it's not a good experience. But if I live out a year, everything is good. Yeah, I can accept life rather. I don't have this good and bad anymore. Yeah. Two, that's the meaning of Vishuddhi, being active. When I say I just mean it generally, right? There's a beautiful story in Indian mythology when the gods and the demons, when the Suras and Asuras rather, when they were at war, they churned the ocean and they got different gifts. One of them was a poison called Halhala. They didn't know what to do with this, so they took it and eventually they were told to take it to Shiva. Shiva consumed that poison, he locked it in his throat and is said to have rested for 3 days. The body got so heated that the moon came to cool him down. This is the mythology, but I'll get to what it means. There's a temple near Rishikesh called Nilkant Mahadev. It's one of my favorite treks. Nilkant Mahadev is where he's supposed to have rested. Now, as he rested, he then cooled down. Now, the point is that here is a person who is able, so that's why Nilkant, blue-throated. Yeah? Here's a person who can accept poison and nectar of life equally. We cannot accept the poison of life, which means jealousy or hatred or anger. We can only accept the nectar of life. But when Vishuddhi opens up, a person is able to go through life with equal measure. Agnya. When Agnya is active, all intuitive knowledge is open. The person is intellectually realized. Agnya Chakra. The scope of Hatha Yoga is to take the energy from Mooladhara to Agnya. Raja Yoga scope to go all the way to Sahasrara. When you reach Agnya, intuition opens up. You know everything there is to know. So many illiterate masters have been there in history. They may not have studied, but they have all the knowledge of the worlds. Yeah? Now, this intuitive knowledge, or Agnya, is depicted as the third eye opening. So now, for us, we are awake to the external world, we are asleep to the internal world. When Agnya is open, you're asleep to the external, but you're alive and awake to the internal world. That's the meaning of the third eye opening. And finally, when you've gone all the way, Sahasrara is active. A person is a Buddha now. This is the point that I would like to make now. I hope you're beginning to understand the difference in the quality of your life based on the chakras you live at. Now, the question that I would like to pose to you is, these are different frequencies, different vibration. Through the intensity of your life itself and your yoga meditation, you go up and you live differently. Can this only have been seen in the Indian subcontinent? Can only Tantra have discovered this? No. If it's part of the human body, it has to be there in all the cultures. So we see this a lot in the ancient Egyptian civilization. The whole Egyptian civilization, you have the Eye of Horus, which is actually a perfect depiction of the pituitary, pineal and the hypothalamus, the third eye that we call the pineal gland. right? And Hermes Trismegistus, the great Egyptian mystic, in his beautiful, and there's only one book of his left. Unfortunately, it's all been destroyed. But in that, he describes the 8 heavens and ascending through these 8, the governors of the 8 heavens and so on. So he's talking about the chakras. You find this in the ancient Greeks. Pythagoras was not just a mathematician, he was a divine mathematician of sorts. He speaks of the cube with 6 surfaces and the mystical 7th point, which is the center of the cube. That mystical 7th surface, 7th point, is a depiction again of the chakras. Yeah. The 7th one, Sahasrar. You find this a lot in the book of Revelations in the New Testament. This person, John, who's not even a disciple of Jesus, has these revelations of the 7 churches with the 7 guardian angels, right? Where the 7 chakras with the 7 deities. You find this in the Jewish tradition of the menorah, the candlesticks. 7 is a recurring theme, 7 days to a week, and so on and so forth. You find it in the ancient pagan times where, and you find it in the ancient European mystical societies of alchemy. Abrakas. Abrakas is a mystical word depicting the 7 different chakras. Abrakas. Like this, ancient cultures understood the different chakras. So much so that a lot of the practices were designed to stimulate the third eye. One of the main practices in ancient Egypt was sun gazing. So gazing at the sun gave people an opportunity to be able to work on the pineal gland. Now just a small note about the pineal gland, and we'll do another video at greater depth. The pineal gland is seen in a fetus from the 41st, 42nd day. At that point, the sex of the fetus is also known. The Buddhists, the Tibetan Buddhists say the soul enters the body in the 42nd day of the fetus. So you find a lot of intuitive knowledge being seen in modern science. The pineal gland takes care of the child. By about 10, 11, 12, the pineal recedes and the pituitary gland takes over. It sets in motion the hormonal changes, preparing for a lifetime of hormonal changes, sex, and so on. Sexual changes. Now this goes on through life. For the longest time, it was not known what is the function of the pineal gland. It has a function for sleep, melatonin, but that the pituitary can also manage. Unlike the appendix, which the body hardly takes care of, for the pineal gland, as per its size as a pea, it gets the blood supply in terms of size ratio, second only to the liver. It was a baffling thing. Why is the body taking care of the pineal gland so much? In the last 10 years, electroencephalogram studies have shown that for long-term meditators, whether they are Muslim saints, Hindu priests, or Buddhist monks, Christian priests, whatever it is, long-term meditators, the pineal gland is getting reactive. It calcifies by the time puberty starts and recedes in its function, but it's getting reactive in the person and takes over the functioning from the pituitary. This is called the awakening of the third eye in mystical terms. So it's a beautiful correlation between the two. So the ancient sun gazers of Egypt were trying to remove the calcification of the pineal gland. Shirshasana, so many practices. That's why meditation is done between 4 to 6 in the morning, when the pineal gland secretion of melatonin is at its highest. That's why it's done in dark, in a cave, even in monasteries you have dungeons, so that the pineal gland can activate. That's a brief description of the different chakras. I was more interested in getting you to understand that the quality of life can change based on the chakra that you live in. This is the interesting thing for me. It doesn't matter what color it is, it doesn't matter what pattern. It really doesn't matter if you're sitting in meditation and you can feel something here. But what matters is it changing the quality of my life? Always, when it comes to yoga, meditation, please understand that if you're behaving weirdly with people, there is something amiss inside. You cannot be on a journey, a beautiful journey within. You cannot be aligning within and becoming weird without. Yeah? When I say weird, you can do things differently in life. Of course, when you do a journey, you'll do things differently. Weird means just the way you interact with people is very indicative of how orderly and organized you are internally. Is that clear? So always good way to check if something, a journey is on, is just the way you're interacting. From power, you move to love, you move to acceptance. This means that something nice is happening within of you. I thank you for your time. I would like you to take a little bit of time in this 21st Century Yoga project. Our focus has been, how does all of this transform my body? So we looked at the body effect of all the chakras. How does it transform my mind? We saw the psychological implications. How does it transform my prana, my energy? We saw that journey, when it's time to die, energy goes back to the cosmos. You're trying to reach Sahasrara when you're alive. Buddhahood is the highest attainment for a human being. Once again, thanks a lot for your time. Please take a little bit of time meditating, trying to understand for yourself, am I predominantly a person focused on security or pleasure or power or love and acceptance or accepting life the way it is or intuition? Let me try and understand a bit more about myself. Please don't judge others. Don't go into this weird trip of saying, he must be this. Don't do it for yourself. Assess for yourself. Do yoga daily. Do meditation daily. When I say yoga, I include meditation in that, so that this journey happens to you. And please do let me know, drop comments whether you've enjoyed this particular video, subscribe to this channel, and you can also let me know what are the other things about yoga you'd like me to cover. I've covered a few topics already. Let me know how these topics have impacted you. What is your experience of the chakras? I'm on the learning journey. The reason I do this project is so that I can learn myself, and therefore please share your insights. It's invaluable to me. Namaste.